So good morning or good afternoon, it depends where you are located, and welcome to our webinar series, PCT Basics. Today we are going to cover episode number 4, Get on the e-filing highway. My name is Pascal Piriou. I'm a Senior Customer Support Assistant for the PCT Technical Corporation and Outreach section at WIPO. So today I will cover what is ePCT, ePCT filing, help with ePCT, and then I will dive to a live demonstration on how to file an international application, so meaning a PCT application using ePCT, WIPO's online system for filing and managing PCT applications. So what is ePCT? First of all, it's a web portal developed by WIPO that provides PCT online services for both applicants and IP offices, because ePCT is used by applicants in order to file and manage their international application. But on the other hand, you have IP offices like the receiving office, like the International Searching Authority, who are also using ePCT in order to process international applications. The user interface is available in all 10 publication languages. It provides secure and direct interaction with PCT applications maintained by the International Bureau here in Geneva. As of today, we have 91 PCT receiving offices, including ROIB, who are accepting ePCT filings. I will give you some statistics on ePCT filing. So in 2024, there was 114,000 PCT applications which were filed using ePCT. There was an increase of 8.9% compared to 2023. So, how to access ePCT is quite straightforward. First, you need to create a single WIPO account that will give you access to ePCT and other WIPO's online services. So meaning that if you create one WIPO account, you can have access to ePCT, eMadrid, eEgg. There is no need to create a separate account to access other WIPO IP services. Then in ePCT, you can log in without strong authentication, so meaning only with your username and password, and then you will be able to do some limited actions like the upload of documents to the IB only. As soon as you add a second factor of authentication, you will be able to sign into ePCT with strong authentication in addition to your username and password. And then you will be able to file international applications. So how to file a PCT application using ePCT? First, you need to log into ePCT using your WIPO account, so password and username, and then you select your strong authentication, which is associated with your WIPO account. Then you will land on the ePCT workbench with strong authentication, and then you click on create new IS, so meaning create new international application. Then you will fill in the screens in the order in which they will appear in order to benefit from the reuse of certain data. We have also detailed instructions via our ePCT filing FAQ. We also have detailed instructions via an ePCT tutorial video. As of today, I mentioned earlier that we have 91 receiving offices accepting ePCT filing. In fact, we have 88 receiving offices with which you will file your international application directly using ePCT. So meaning that all data and documents are uploaded and validated by the system. And then the application will be transmitted to the receiving office server or to the server hosted by IB. Please be reminded that ePCT cannot be used to pay fees to receiving offices except if you file your international application with the receiving office of the International Bureau. So it's a two-step process for US, Israel, and Canada. So meaning that with our US, you will create a zip file which will only contain the bibliographic data of the request form in ePCT, but you will not upload any documents in ePCT. It's only afterwards when you will go to USPTO website that you will upload the zip file that you have created in ePCT, and you will attach all the documents making the international application into the Patent Center. The same for ARO Israel, so meaning that you only create a package in ePCT with only the bibliographic data, but you do not attach any documents in ePCT. And then you will upload the package to ILPO website. For ROCS for Canada, it's different. You will you will enter all the bibliographic data in ePCT. You will also attach the documents in ePCT, and then you will create a .zg1 file that you will upload afterwards to CIPO website. So that's why we have 88 offices with which you will file directly your application, meaning that you enter the data and upload the documents in ePCT and transmit your package to the receiving office server. And then we have 3 other receiving offices, US, Israel, and Canada, where it's a two-step process, meaning that you need to upload the package to the receiving office website. That's why we have in total 91 receiving offices. In ePCT, it's also possible to do same-day corrections. So meaning that after an international application has been filed using ePCT, and provided that the receiving office accept e-routed documents, meaning that you can upload documents using ePCT. It does not apply to US, Canada, and Israel because it's a two-step process, and with these 3 receiving offices, it's not possible to upload documents after filing. Then you can use the same-day correction feature until midnight in the time zone of the receiving office concerned in order to add or replace documents that were omitted or incorrectly submitted at the time of filing and which will affect the international filing date, which can be the description, claims, drawings, sequence listing, or pre-conversion file. So for example, you realize that you have filed an international application and you have attached the wrong set of claims. Using the same-day correction action, then you can re-upload the correct set of claims, provided that you do that before midnight in the receiving office time zone. And in such a case, the receiving office will replace the wrong set of claims by the correct one. In ePCT, you can also clone international application, meaning existing application or draft application, provided that the international application was filed using ePCT. And then you can clone the bibliographic data of an existing application, which can be used as a template. For those who were PCT Safe users, in PCT Safe, we used to call that feature templates. In ePCT, it's clone I. Then you can choose to include the specification, including any translation, and sequence listing into the new draft international application. Then the only documents which will not be cloned will be the declaration of inventorship, which requires the signature of each inventor. So meaning that you will need to redo a declaration of inventorship. In ePCT, it's also possible to assign access rights at the time of creating a new draft application. For sure, the person, the paralegal or the patent attorney who will create the new draft application will be the default e-owner of the draft application. And then you can also assign access rights to other colleagues in order for them to have access to the draft application. And you can also apply an access right group, so meaning that you create an access right group in ePCT with different colleagues with whom you have a connection, and then you can assign this group at the time of filing. In case ePCT is not available and you have a deadline to file your international application, it's possible to use the Business Continuity Service, so meaning the BCS, which is a backup copy solution in case ePCT is unavailable. It's also possible to file with 91 receiving offices. And then you can only upload documents to the IB. So just to remind you again, the BCS should only be used in case ePCT is not available, or in case you have an issue with your WIPO account or with your strong authentication and you have a deadline to file your international application. Otherwise, always use ePCT. From the FAQ, when you click on Help from ePCT on the navigation bar on the top of the application, you can go to the FAQ page where you will have access to different articles and also ePCT tutorial videos on how to use ePCT. If you want to practice with ePCT, you can also use ePCT in demo mode using this URL, and I will show you that in a few seconds, where you can practice with ePCT. However, you should never enter confidential data. And if you want to create a real application, if you want to create a new draft application, a real one, don't be confused with demo mode and please use the production mode. As you can see from this screenshot, when you enter your username and password, you can click directly on Access ePCT mode and you will be redirected automatically to ePCT demo. Again, if you want some help with ePCT, you can click on the Help in the navigation bar on the top of the application, where you will have access to FAQ articles and user documentation, recorded ePCT webinars, and again, ePCT tutorial videos, together with PCT reference data lookup, with the office profile, close dates, fees amount, etc. And also you have a screenshot on how to access the FAQ articles. You click on the Help. From the drop-down menu, you select FAQs. If you need help with ePCT, you can also contact my colleagues at PCT eServices Help Desk at the phone number +41 22 338 9523, or you can send an email to pct.eservices@wipo.int. We are open from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central European Time. So now let's move to the live demonstration. So first you go to ePCT. Then, I will do the presentation in demo mode, and all the data that I will enter are fake data. And I just want to remind you that today's webinar topic is on ePCT filing. So I will not show you all the different functionalities which are available in ePCT. So first you click on Login to ePCT. Then you enter your username and password, which is associated with your WIPO account. Then you click on Login, and then the system will ask you to select the strong authentication which is associated with your WIPO account. Then you can use the app for one-time password, digital certificate, push notification, or text message, SMS for one-time password. I would just like to mention that we recommend our users to always have access to two strong authentication methods. Just in case one of them is not working, you can still access ePCT and then manage the strong authentication which is not working. So for me, I'm someone modern and trendy, so I will use a push notification, which is the most powerful authentication method. I will now open my mobile phone, click on the approve button from ForgeRock, and then I will connect automatically to ePCT. And I will land to the ePCT workbench where I have access to all my filed PCT applications, but also to the draft applications that I have created in ePCT. In order to create a new international application, you just need to click on Create New IA, just here. Then you will be prompted to enter your file reference, which is your own reference for your application. So I will call it, let's say, 19 March 2026. The file reference is limited to 25 characters, and special characters are not allowed except the hyphen. Then you select the receiving office with which you would like to file your international application. And I just remind you that as of today, we have 91 receiving offices who accept ePCT filing. So today I'm going to file my international application with the receiving office of the International Bureau here in Geneva. Then you can decide at this point with whom you would like to share access rights of your international application. So it can be to yourself only, so you select you. Otherwise, you can select an access right group, and here I can see that I will be the default e-owner, the same as my colleague Jaume. Jean-Marc will be e-editor, and Tamira will be e-viewer. So meaning that all of us will have access to that application with different access rights. It's also possible to put your draft application in a virtual folder, portfolio, we call it a portfolio, meaning that you can create portfolios in ePCT in order to group your PCT applications by applicant's name, by agent's name. It's really up to you to create the portfolio. So let's say that I will put it in the portfolio or virtual folder WIPO bis. Then I click on create. Then the system gives me again my file reference, the receiving office with which I would like to file my international application, then the language of the request form, and the language of the international application. Then, if the receiving office is a DAS depositing office for PCT applications, I can, at the time of filing my international application, request the receiving office to deposit this PCT application into the DES library. So meaning that if you want to claim that that PCT application in another PCT application, then you can use the DES code in order to request the International Bureau to retrieve that earlier application from the library. Please note that USPTO does not deposit PCT application in DES, they only deposit national application. So therefore, you will not have this box when you select RUS as receiving office. I click on update. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you fill in the screen in the order that they appear. So the first one, it's priority claims. As you can see, there was a change with the last version of ePCT. Now you need to expand each section. So then you click on the add button. Then you select if it's a national, regional, or PCT application that you would like to claim in that new PCT application. So let's say it's a national application, which was filed with US. Then you indicate when the earlier application was filed, and by default, the calendar will open with 1 year in the past, because usually you file your international application within 12 months from the earlier application. So let's say that the early application was filed on the 31st of March 2025. Then I enter the application number. And then you have different options. As you know, you need to provide a certified copy of the early application to the IB. So here, as I'm filing with RYB and the early application was filed with USPTO, it's up to the applicant to provide a copy. I can also attach an electronic copy, so meaning that you have a PDF copy which is digitally signed by the Office of First Filing. Then you can select this option. Otherwise, you can request the IB to obtain from DES, so from the Digital Access Service, a copy of the early application. So this is what I'm going to do right now. Then ePCT will validate and check that the early application is available in DS. If it's not, you will get an error message. Then you will need to contact the Office of First Filing and to check why the early application is not yet registered in DS. And you will put in the meantime to be provided by the applicant. Once you have confirmation that the early application is registered in DAS, then you can use, after filing, the action obtain priority document from DAS. If you want to add another priority claim, you click on the add button and so on. It's also important that as soon as you start to enter bibliographic data in ePCT, that you click from time to time on the save draft button. Then ePCT will run some validations and red warnings, like for the names, search, and documents. So meaning that you cannot file your international application until you have red warnings that you have corrected. Then we have orange warning, like for the signature, which does not prevent filing, but will require correction from the receiving office or from the international bureau. And then we have the blue warnings, which are for information only, and you can file your application, but you should not disregard also the blue warnings. Just to remind you that the red warnings will prevent filing of your international application. So for the priority claims, I entered already one priority claim. Then now I will go to the designations. Here there is nothing to do because all the designates, all the possible designations will be listed automatically at the time of filing. Then you can exclude a designation like Germany, Japan, or Korea, provided that you have an earlier application from one of these countries. So here it's not the case, so I will do cancel. Then you can add a parent application or patent grant for a designation, like for US. So here I will select US. Then you can indicate if it's a continuation in part or continuation. Let's say that it's a continuation in part. As you have already entered your earlier application in the priority claims section, then here ePCT will prompt you to select the application concerned. And then you click on the OK. Then we come to the names. Again, you need to click on the small arrow to expand. And then I'm going to enter an applicant here. So by default, the radio button applicant is selected, but you can change it to applicant and inventor or inventor only. So then I will click on the names and I will enter my first applicant. You can also use an address book. So you click on the appropriate button and from there you can select an applicant which is recorded into your address book. So let's say that I will select an applicant which is in US. Here we go. And as you can see, the address, the city, country, etc. are automatically pre-filled by the system. And then you need also to indicate the notification method, meaning in which way you would like to receive the IB forms. So either via an email, an ePCT notification with a link to view and download documents from ePCT, or email with a PDF attached, so meaning that the forms are attached as PDF. So here I will select ePCT. Why we should also indicate this for the applicant, and it just in case you have an agent and then the agent will renounce his appointment, we still need to send the forms to the applicant. So I click on OK. Now I will add an inventor. So I select inventor only. The same, I will select my address book. And from the address book, I will select, for example, this person. And then here it's not mandatory to indicate the notification method because it's the inventor only. So I click on the OK button. Oh yes, now it's also mandatory. In the past, it was not, but now they made it mandatory. So I click on the OK. And as you can see, each time you do an error, ePCT will give you, a red warning that will ask you to correct the defect before filing. Now I'm going to add an agent, and I will put myself as agent. So again, I will select the address book. I will enter my name, Pascal. And I will indicate that today I'm located in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin. Then here again, I will select the notification method that I would like to for receiving the IB forms. Then here you need also to indicate, as I'm filing with ROIB, I need to confirm that I'm entitled to practice before the receiving office of the International Bureau. So here I will need to tick the box agent is entitled, and then I select US because in fact I'm entitled to represent the applicant before USPTO, and the receiving office of the IB will apply the same rule as if you will file your international application with a competent receiving office. Now I click on OK. I will save again my draft application. Now I go to the international search. So according to the nationality and residence of the applicants and the receiving office that you have selected, ePCT will prompt you with the competent ISAs. So here I will select, for example, EPO. You can also request the ISA to take into consideration the result of the earlier search. And to do that, you use the button Use Earlier Application. Then you select the earlier application concerned. Then you request the ISA to take into consideration the result of the earlier search. You can indicate that the earlier application is the same as the international application. You can indicate if it's already available to the ISA. So here, as it was a US application, it will be up to the applicant to furnish the result of the earlier search. So will be furnished by the applicant after filing. Click OK. And now we go to the declaration section. I'm not going to go through all the different declarations because in fact the time is running quite fast, and we have also a dedicated webinar on declarations. So I would like, if you want to have more information on declarations, I would recommend you to refer to that webinar. For the biology, it's for biological materials. In that application, I don't have any biology, so I will not add any. Then we come to the document section. So this is a place where you will add your specification, so meaning your description, claims, abstract, and drawings, if any. So I will click on the Add Specification button. The default selection is DOCX format for conversion application body to XML. So meaning that you can attach a DOCX, a Word document, provided that it's in compliance with PCT Annex F And we also have some template file and user guide and sample file for you in order to create you a document in DOCX. So then you see that the Add Document button is with the DOCX extension. So I click here. I select my application body in DOCX. I click OK. And automatically the system will convert this DOCX into XML and will also provide a copy in PDF format. Then you need to indicate if the abstract contains a formula, yes or no. This is not the case here, so I would select no. Then, as it's a DOCX application, the system is able to detect the number of figures. So that's why it will prompt you to select the figure which should accompany the abstract at the time of international publication on the front page. So here I will select figure number 1. Then you can indicate if the figure contains some text or no. So it's not the case here, so I would select no. Then the system has detected that the specification contains color or grayscale. It does not affect my filing of the international application. Then the system will also extract the title as indicated on the first page of the description. And here it's possible to update the title. So meaning that you can add some text here. Please make sure that the title indicated on the first page of the description will match the title as indicated on the request form. And here, this is the title which will be indicated on the request form, just in order to avoid an invitation to correct defects. Then the system will extract the abstract as indicated on the abstract page. However, this field is not editable. It will be up to the IB to make sure that the abstract as extracted is the same as the one contained on the abstract page. Then I click on the Save button. I will click again on Save Draft. Now I will see that the search and documents are no longer in red, and I can now file my I can continue to prepare my draft application. It's also always recommended to preview the application as it will be rendered at the IB. So here you see that we have the source of the specification, which is DOCX, and my application is filed in English. And then I can click on Preview Rendering of Documents after submission. So meaning that in order to process the international application, we will convert the document into TIFF images. So it's really important for you each time when you file an international application, regardless of the format with which you have filed your application, so meaning PDF, DOCX, you need always to make sure that the conversion is correct. Then now you can add accompanying items like a general correspondence, and you can add also the pre-conversion file, especially when you file in PDF. We always recommend that when you file in PDF format that you attach also the pre-converted files, so meaning the original documents in Word. Just in case there was an issue at the time you converted the Word document into PDF, the International Bureau can then rely on the pre-conversion file in order to correct the issue. And please be reminded that the pre-conversion file should be submitted at the time of filing your international application. Then we come to the fees section. Then you can click on Show Fees to see the fees to be paid. So here we have the transmittal fee, which are for the receiving office, the search fee, which are for the International Searching Authority in charge to issue the International Search Report and Written Opinion. And then we have the International Filing Fee, which are for the IB, for the International Bureau. As I'm filing my international application in DOCX, I get automatically a 300 Swiss francs fee reduction. When you file in DOCX and XML, you will automatically get a 300 Swiss francs fee reduction. However, if you file in PDF, you will get a 200 Swiss francs fee reduction. And here, this is the amount to be paid to the receiving office. Again, the fees should always be paid to the receiving office with which you have filed your international application. Then you can see that I will pay in Swiss francs, which is the default selection, but you can also edit. If you want to pay in euro or US dollar, you can change the currency here. But I'm going to pay in Swiss francs. Then the default method of payment with the receiving office of the International Bureau is online payment, because you will do the payment online using ePCT and via WIPO Pay. Even if you pay by bank transfer, we consider it as online payment. Please be also reminded that you can pay by credit card, by SoFort, by PayPal, by Apple Pay, etc. when you file your international application with the receiving office of the International Bureau. So I will click on Update. Then we come to the signature field or section. Then here we can see that it's in yellow orange. So again, this warning will not prevent me from filing the international application, but in case I don't sign the request form, I will be invited by the receiving office to furnish a replacement sheet of the request form with the signature of the applicant or the agent. ePCT will also indicate only the persons which are authorized to sign. So here I have one applicant, one inventor, and one agent. The inventor is not authorized to sign, so that's why is not listed here. And we have only the applicant and the agent. So let's say that I'm going to sign because I am the agent. Then I can sign with a text signature. I can sign also using an image signature. So in such a case, you will need to upload a JPEG or TIFF image. Let's do it today. I can find it. Desktop. Where is my signature? No, I'm sorry, I cannot find it today. So I'm going to sign with a text signature. And the last option is also the external signature. So meaning that the external signature is a useful function in ePCT in order for someone who does not have access to ePCT to sign documents outside ePCT. So this feature is quite useful when you generate the declaration of inventorship, so declaration number 4, which is for the purpose of, for the designation of US. Then you can use the external signature in order for the inventors to sign the declaration of inventorship. It can also be used at the time of filing in order to sign the request form in case the patent attorney does not have access to ePCT to sign the application. So here I have selected text signature. You also have a button to click to autofill with signatory name, and then automatically my name will appear under slashes. I click on OK. Now my application is ready to be filed. I click on Review and File. Then ePCT will show me all the different warnings for this application. So here just link to the application body in DOCX, and just a warning, an information that the agent has confirmed the right to practice before the receiving office, so meaning that I'm authorized to act on behalf of the applicant before the receiving office of US. And again, IB will apply the same rule as if the application will be filed with a competent receiving office. Then you need to scroll down to the bottom of the page to make sure that all the data that you have entered are correct. If not, you can go back to continue by clicking on continue editing. And then you click on File International Application to ROIB. Then again, the system will prompt you with the different warnings. just to make sure that you are aware of them. Then you click on confirm and file. Then now the system is generating a package to be transmitted to the receiving office server, so meaning to ROIB. So now my application has been filed. The system has granted a PCT international application number, so PCT IB 2026/040099. We confirm that it has been filed with the receiving office of the IB, and the date of receipt at the IB, it's today at 3:40 Central European Time. So now I can click on close, and automatically ePCT will open the application as filed, and then I will have access to the data. Taking some time here, to the documents which have been filed together with my international application. I mentioned during the PowerPoint presentation that it's possible to clone an international application provided that it was filed with ePCT. Then in such a case, you click on the PCT application number, then you scroll to clone international application, and automatically the system will create a new draft international application. Then you need to enter a new international application number, file reference, sorry. This, you select access rights. I confirm that I want to include the specification making up the international application. I click on confirm. And then you will see that a new draft application has been created by ePCT based on the draft application or on the filed international application. So meaning that I will have exactly the same applicants, same agent, and the same documents. And then you can review the draft application and then file it. So I'm not going to do that. I'll just close. And then I will go back directly to the application that I have filed. So I will go to last access and I will use, I don't know why it's not, oh, here we go. So then I will open the application that I filed just a few minutes ago. And I also mentioned during the PowerPoint presentation that it's possible to do same-day corrections. So meaning that you realize that you have uploaded the wrong set of claims, or you realize that one figure is missing. Then, provided that you submit the correction before midnight in the receiving office time zone, you can correct the issue and it will not change your international filing date. So filing date, you will keep the same filing date. So here, as I filed the international application with IB, the recipient is IB. Then you select which part I should correct. So let's say I want to correct the claims. Then you attach a document in PDF. It should be in PDF and not in DOCX, even if the application was filed in DOCX. Then it's mandatory to give an explanation why you are uploading a new set of claims. So wrong set of claims was submitted at the time of filing. Correct one now. Then you need to sign the text signature, image signature, or if you have a letter, you can also indicate that the letter is already signed by someone having authority on behalf of the applicants. So here I'm still the agent, so it's me who is going to sign. I will again sign using the text string signature. And here you can see at the bottom that you have the time remaining for same-day correction. Again, it should be before midnight in the receiving office time zone. It's now 3:45 in Geneva, so that's why I still have 8 hours and 14 minutes, in order to file my same-day corrections. And then I click on upload. Then automatically, the same-day correction will go under the document section. We'll click on close, and will appear under record as held by the IB with a yellow background, so meaning this is the latest documents that I have uploaded for this international application. And again, since it's the same-day correction, the receiving office of the IB will replace the claims as filed by the new submitted set of claims. So again, now maybe just few seconds in order to show you few features about the new international application. I would like just to emphasize the fact that under the data, it's possible to check the international publication date. So meaning that as soon as you have filed your international application and the application is received at the IB, you can check when the international application will be published. You might know that in fact we publish applications on Thursdays at 18 months from the earliest priority date, and in case there is no priority date, at 18 months from the international publication date. So there is no need to call the IB and to ask when my PCT application will be published, because as soon as you have access to your international application in ePCT, it's possible for you to check the date of publication. And we call it, in fact, the current target date for international publication. You can also preview the publication front page as soon as the application is created. So you can preview that front page. Then maybe just a few words on the timeline, which is for me a useful feature in ePCT, where you can see a graphical representation of the key dates of your international application. So here we have the priority date. Then we have the red line, which is today's date when the application was filed, when we need to provide a copy of the early application to the IB. In case you want to submit amendments under Article 19, this is a due date. When you will need to withdraw the application in order to prevent international application. So please be reminded two weeks before the publication date. And then you can check also when the application will need to enter into national phase. So each time you click on a button or on an information, you will get, in fact, the information displayed on the top. Then you can also calculate some time limits. And then at the bottom, you also have a summary of all the different key dates of your international application. So I think I will stop here with a live demonstration, and I will go now with the Q&A questions. Go. So I think we only have few questions for the time being, but do not hesitate to use the Q&A function in Zoom in order to ask questions. So the first one is, may external signature be inserted later? So it depends. So if you are filing a new draft international application and you have a deadline to file your international application, so let's say today is the last day to file your international application, and you know that the patent attorney is not here today, so for sure you're not going to use the external signature, otherwise you will not be able to file your international application within 12 months. So in such a case, you will file your application without the signature on the request form. But in case you prepare your draft application 2 weeks in advance, it's still possible to save your draft application and then to insert the email address of the person who will need to sign the international application. I would just like to remind you that as soon as you initiate an external signature, the person who will need to sign will have 7 days to sign. After, the external signature request will expire. In case the document is not yet signed within 6 days, so meaning 1 day before the expiration date, the person who should sign will receive an automatic reminder from the system. Next question. What would happen if when signing you do not close the application as a system request, but due to an internal factor, your computer loses connection? So that's why it's really important that you click on the Save Draft button as soon as you enter bibliographic data and documents in ePCT, just in case there is an issue with your computer or you lose connection due to a weak connection, internet connection, then you can still reconnect to ePCT and reopen the draft application that you have created in ePCT. So that's why it's really important that you click from time to time or each time you enter data on the Save Draft button of your international application. Then we have another question. If you forget, I'm sorry, if you forget to attach the obligatory archive file, including copies of the PDF specification and drawing, it is also possible to file the archive file by same-day corrections. So first of all, ePCT will prevent you to file an international application if you do not attach a specification, meaning description, claims, abstract, and drawings. So it's mandatory at the time of filing to attach a specification. But in case you realize that you do not attach the correct documents, then yes, you can use the same-day correction in order to correct the incorrected submitted documents. Do you will still do the webinar in Spanish? I don't have the answer for this question, but it might be that some colleagues will do also a similar webinar in Spanish. Is there a benefit to file the international application using ePCT instead of using EOLF system? So, for sure, I'm going to promote ePCT, and yes, you should use ePCT in order to file your international application. First of all, why? Because you will gain automatically access of your international application in ePCT. Whereas when you use EOLF, so meaning EPO software, you will need to request access rights in ePCT, in EOLF, in order to have access to your application afterwards in ePCT. Then when you file your application using ePCT, I showed you that you can also clone the application. You can also use the same-day correction. So I will always recommend our users to use ePCT instead of EOLF, provided for sure that the receiving office with which you want to file your application accept ePCT filings. Does entity size, small or large, still apply for PCT application? Your demonstration did not include size entity when paying the fees. So yes, because I'm quite short with the presentation, so that's why I could not cover all the different functionalities. But yes, when you file, for example, with USPTO, it's possible to indicate in the when you enter the when you enter the file reference and the owner of the application to indicate if it's a small or a micro entity, and then you will need to attach a proof that you are really a small entity, and then you will get a fee reduction for the international fees. You can also refer to our recorded tutorial video on ePCT filing. I think we covered this point. So we would like to ask whether a separate webinar is planned regarding the correct procedure for filing biological information. You can also, yes, for biological material, I did not cover that part again because I was short of time. But I think in the ePCT tutorial video, I think we also have a part on that. Otherwise, you can go also on the help. You can go to FAQs. I will move the questions away. Then when you go to then ePCT user guide, if you type biology here, action prepare, no, this one, biology. Then you will get the instructions on how to prepare the form R134 at the time of filing of a new international application. So you can either attach an already prepared form R134 in PDF format. Otherwise, you can create one in ePCT. Then you will need to indicate where the biological material are indicated in your international application. So you indicate the page and the line number. Then you will select the depository institution, then the date when it was deposited, the access number. You can add also additional indication and also separate furnishing of indication. Then you will indicate if the biological material are for all designated states or for specific designations. And then you click on OK, and automatically the system will generate the form PCT R134. Then I think in the same question we had the different questions. We need to clarify when we file a copy of the filing certificate of a micro-representative page are not immediately counted. So usually when you prepare the form R134 in ePCT, it should be counted by ePCT in the number of pages of the request form. In order to file all filing fee. So could you please advise how we should proceed in order to have all filing fees, including the additional page fee, calculated and paid at the time of filing? So when you prepare a new draft application in ePCT, ePCT will calculate exactly the amount to be paid to the competent receiving office. So it will indicate the transmittal fees, which are for the receiving office, the international fee for the IB, and also the search fee for the international searching authority. And in case your international application contains more than 30 pages, then you have to pay an extra fee for each extra page, and ePCT will also calculate this. But for sure, you need to attach your specification in ePCT in order for the system to be aware of the amount to be paid. So then we have another question. What happens if the inventor does not sign the declaration? So if you have created a declaration of inventorship in ePCT, and then you have initiated an external signature, and the inventor has not signed the declaration number 4 within 7 days, then the external signature will expire, and then you will need to create a new declaration number 4. Here, just like for a tip, in case you still have a deadline to file your international application and you would like to submit a declaration of inventorship, and you know that the inventors will not have time to to sign the declaration on time, so I will recommend you to file your international application without the declaration of inventorship, and then you can use, after filing, the action declaration of inventorship. And then you can initiate an external signature by indicating the inventor's email address. And again, the inventor will receive a link in order to sign the declaration outside ePCT. However, the inventor will not have access to the document to be signed, so it's really up to you as a paralegal or as a person creating the draft application to send a separate email to the inventor with a copy of the document to be signed. So like this, the inventor will be aware of what is signing. And also to remind him that he will receive an automatic email from noreply@wipo.int with a link in order to sign the documents outside ePCT. Then now we have another question. Sorry, actually means that if you attach the specification and set of drawings, but not the OCAV file, which is specification or set of drawing in MS Word or PowerPoint can file. Okay, so meaning that if I understand correctly the question, in case you have attached your specification in PDF and you have not attached the pre-conversion file at the time of filing. So in such a case, you can still use the same declaration, provided that you attach the original documents in Word or PowerPoint or whatever, before midnight in the receiving office time zone. After midnight, it's no longer possible to submit the pre-conversion file to the receiving office concerned. So please make sure that you attach your pre-converted files, especially when you file in PDF format, at the time of filing, before midnight in the receiving office time zone, using the same day correction. So now it's 4 o'clock. Thank you very much for your attention. Please use ePCT to file your international application. And if you need help with ePCT at any time, you can click on the help and then have access to the user guide. And also when you go to ePCT filing, you will have all the different information on how to file your application. You also have an example, and you can also refer to this long ePCT tutorial video, which is 42 minutes and 36 seconds long, where you will have all the different information on how to prepare your draft application using ePCT. Thanks again for your attention. Have a good day and see you soon for another ePCT webinar. Thank you again. Bye-bye.